So let's just take a look at what's in here. The Wood Elves definitely win the movement game. They have unparalleled ability to get around the board. And that's because some of their core, all of the units can move through forests in a game without penalty. And that's really a big deal in Warhammer Fantasy because let's say you have a unit of cavalry and they're in the forest, they're stuck. They can't march, which is they can't move at double rate, and they can only move at half rate. So even cavalry are moving at like 4 or 5 inches a turn. And then if they try and charge out of it, they're penalized for those 2 inches, even if they're right at the edge of the board. But Wood Elves can fly around the board, plowing. They also have magic items that allow them to create forests. So in terms of freedom of movement and also stymieing your opponent's movement, Wood Elves are 2 thumbs way, way up. They also have a really strong shooting game, and but they are eggshell fragile. So Wood Elves are definitely a finesse army. They're very strong in movement, magic, and shooting, but not so much in close combat, although they do have units that can give a punch. Let me just give you a few tips on your core units. Glade Riders are cavalry for Wood Elves, and so that means technically you don't have to have really very many foot troops at all. And this is a core unit switcheroo, which I'm very fond of, which is normally in an army list your core units are all big blocks of infantry that would look like this. And then your cavalry are your special units, and you're limited in the number of choices you can take. Typically you're maxed at 4 special choices. But if you have cavalry in your core, you can take your cavalry as your core choices and then take all the really fun specialty infantry or other figures. I've seen this list done very well with 4 units of, let's get rid of all this, 4 units of Glade Riders, that's the fast cavalry. And what they do is then you put like a wizard or a Spellsinger, which is the wizard type for this list, Spellsinger, and then a noble, and then maybe even one more noble. And basically you take 2 units with bows, 2 units with spears. I played against this army and was just picked apart because... Alright, so fast cavalry are not limited by the normal restrictions of movement. So for example, if a normal cavalry unit wanted to move from here to here, they would have to wheel, and that takes up movement according to the outer edge, move, and then wheel again. And all of that, it'd be like an S, and you'd have to measure all along the S. Fast cavalry, not so. They just, as long as none of the individual figures move more than the maximum amount, they can go any which way they want. They can go like this and flip around. They can go to the side. They can, let's say these are 2 enemy units, right, facing them. They can go like this and then flip around behind, which is crazy. And they can shoot 360. So fast cavalry are awesome. They're great troubleshooters. They can't go toe-to-toe with elite or hard units of enemy models, but they definitely play a supplemental role. So you do want some heavy hitters in there. So for a beginning Wood Elf player, I would recommend getting a couple of Spellsingers mounted on elven steeds, and 2 or 3 units of Glade Riders. They come 8 Glade Riders in a box of for $35. So buy 3 of those boxes, and you've got 15 Glade Riders and 1 extra one that you can convert into some kind of hero. So, and that's really a great option. A lot of people like Eternal Guard, which are sort of elite foot units, but they're also in core. WARHAWK Riders, definitely get a unit of WARHAWK Riders, if for no other reason to have just a troubleshooting unit, take out war machines and pesky spellcasters. TREEKIN are definitely a hard hitting unit, and that's in your special units. Wild Riders are another fast cavalry unit. They're like these sort of Fey Celtic type ancient riders with you know, talismanic tattoos on them, and they also have fear. They cause fear, and have a lot of really special rules. So that's another good cavalry unit to take. And a TREEMAN. That's the units that I would start with as a Wood Elf player. Great Eagles, really good, but they do, each one of them takes up one of your 2 precious rare slots, so wouldn't really recommend the Great Eagles so much, especially since they're competing with the TREEMAN. Now, I also might note that it's possible to make a TREEKIN army by having DRYADS as your core choice. You can have a TREEMAN to lead your army. You can have TREEKIN as your special choices, and you can have TREEMAN as your rare choice as well. So basically, you can make a whole army of just these animated tree folk, which is an army I've always wanted to do. And I've heard it's pretty heavy hitting. With magic, you can get over the lack of ranged ability, and that definitely easy to paint, which is something to consider. So that's what I got to say about Wood Elves. Definitely a finesse army. You will get a superior player will crush you if you don't know what you're doing. But if you do know what you're doing, oh man, you can just run circles around the enemy camp. It's a circle the wagons, folks, because here comes the Wood Elves. Should we do another one? I think we should.